Steve?
Yes, talk. Okay. I'm here, and we're ready to go whenever you guys are. Were there any protests in Fresno that you're aware of?
Not that I was aware of.
You
I
want to
was
hear the music, Woody? 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
15. 15.
15. This is a program to help educate you on some of the issues that are vital to your understanding and way of life, and what can be done to improve it. Only when we get other views can we make intelligent choices regarding the decisions and options available to us for the enrichment and improvement of our lives. Good evening, Truman Sigler for Personalities in the News. This show is dedicated to the memory of John Castle, who started Personalities in the News in 1964 through 2003 on several local stations. John was a noted advocate of the Constitutions and a Republican. The format of this program is educational in nature and based on the Constitutions of the United States of America and the Republic of California, as well as special guests based on their topics being presented. The program today is more about what we can do to bring the people in government back to following the mandates of the Constitution as currently written, but not followed. The so-called pandemic coronavirus and the reaction of the people in government and to the edicts and reactionary controls placed on the people has brought the current situation to a possible violent outcome, and this must be avoided at all costs. The current administrations and their edicts and programs have brought the economy to a standstill, thereby destroying the tax base of this republic and their means of getting money, as well as no means of work for the citizens. This must be rectified now. We are mad as hell. We the people have the power and the means to effect a change and force you people in the government we elected to manage this republic, and you took an oath to do so. We're not asking you. We're demanding that you do so now. We, the people, will not stand for your denial of our God-given constitutionally protected human rights. We have also introduced you to some of the views of others on the current so-called pandemic and rule by non-elected so-called experts, with only their views and data models, which has been proven to be inaccurate. And your refusal to get other experts' views and data and experience. We, the people, will not accept rule by experts, but only by elected officials. Now I'm going to introduce you to what we've called and written up to a constructive notice. Now this is a legal document, and this is how we, the people, can lawfully and peacefully recover our republic. The discussion today will be our three hosts, Steve Hempling, Sue Ann Cesar, and myself. Sue Ann is having a tough day today. She may not be able to call in, so Steve and I will carry it. We'll call in for questions after the first break. Will be 559-721-2822. Now I'm going to read this constructive notice. Dear whoever you title it to, or to the director of, same thing, this letter constitutes direct and constructive notice to you and all of your subordinates and to your and their replacements, successors, and substitutes, or sit-ins, that if you, under the color of law or police power, violate any of my civil rights or constitutional rights, whether they be contract rights or refusal of contract right, or any violation of due process of law or equal protection under the law available to me as a right, I will sue you for general and punitive damages for any and all that you may ever own. Signed, yours truly. The citizen presenting this courtesy warning to public officials is not volunteering for anything. Then we go on to a warning. Now we're going to cite some written law that's current and in force that applies to people that are elected and take an oath. The United States Criminal Code, Title 18, Chapter 13, Sections 241 and 242 make it a felony to use or conspire to use color of law to enforce a code or regulation which results in the violation of a person's rights. Violators will be prosecuted. Section 241, conspiracy against rights of citizens. If two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any citizen in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him or her by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his having exercised the same, the United States, or if two or more persons go in disguise on the highway or on the premises of another with the intent to prevent or hinder his or her free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privileges so secured, they shall be fined not more than $10,000 or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both. And if death results, they shall be subject to imprisonment for any term of years or for life. Continuing here. Section 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. Whoever, under color of law, any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any inhabitant of any state, territory, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, or penalties on account of such inhabitant being an alien, or by reason of his color or race, than are prescribed for the punishment of citizens, shall be fined not more than $1,000, or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. And if death results, shall be subject to imprisonment for any term of years or for life. Title 42, United States Code, Section 1983. When two or more persons conspire to use force, intimidation, or threat, or to injure a person and deprive them of the rights and privileges as a United States citizen, the party injured may have an action for the recovery of damages occasioned by such injury or deprivation against any one or more of the conspirators. Now, these are legal sites, Supreme Court sites mainly, usually. The first one is the most important one. Is Harlow versus Fitzgerald, 1982. 457 U.S. 800 102 section court 2727 73 L edition 396. The Supreme Court of the United States stated, "We therefore hold that government officials performing discretionary functions generally are shielded from liability or civil damages insofar as their conduct does not violate clearly established statutory or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. And that's also at 102 Supreme Court at 2738. A reasonably competent public official should know the law governing his conduct. That's at 102 Supreme Court at 2739. By defining the limits of qualified immunity, essentially in objective terms, we provide no license to lawless conduct. And that's at 102 Supreme Court at 2739. Thus, the Supreme Court outlined the contours of the qualified immunity doctrine in Harlow. We affirm on the basis of qualified immunity alone. You, as a government official, are charged with both knowing the law governing your conduct and with obeying the law. Remember, and this is important, you can be sued personally in a civil action for violation of my constitutional rights. A civil action does not depend upon the willingness of a district attorney to prosecute. How do I know that? Because I've done it. Now, the way you start this process going is before you get injured or bothered, you notarize all the people that you think might do this to you or have done this to you in the past. And I have a list of examples here of what I submitted at the time. Chief of Police Fresno of the city of Fresno, city attorney, presiding judge, the mayor, the building department, Department of Public Works, county council, district attorney, sheriff's department, presiding judge of the Superior Court, board of supervisors, and both of these, some of these are from the municipal court, and some of them are in the county, and not just the city, or anyone else you want to put on notice. And you may need more pages, depending upon how many people you want to go after that have actually injured you. You've got to be injured or you don't have standing in the court. And there's a place on the bottom of this for a notary to do that. Then you serve these people, or you have them served. And when you get the notices back, then these people have been forewarned. They cannot act in ignorance. That's the whole position by what we're doing here. So listen up. Educate yourself. If you need help, Free Enterprise Society is here to give you a hand. And I'm part of that. And Steve Hempling is the director of the Free Enterprise Society. We're going to take, well, not quite. The discussion will be our three hosts, Sue Ann, Steve, and myself. There'll be time for calling questions at 559-721-2822. That's a new number for us. And also, we're going to be broadcasting on a different radio station, and that is KXEX 1550. And that we're going through some changes here in the future. They're going to be good changes, and we're looking forward to it. So welcome, Steve and Sue Ann, to Personalities in the News. I'm going to refresh you in a little bit on some of the topics that we addressed on previous shows, and we will address what, in our view, is what we or us can be done peacefully within our form of constitutional methods. Now it's time for a break so that the station can run their ads that are coming in to help pay the bills. And as soon as the music starts to die out, Mr. Engineer will take it away.
Well, I think that was real good. We're going to have a good discussion on rights here. I mean, the people are out. They are out in numbers everywhere. Even up here where I'm at, where there aren't a lot of people, there was people out. So,
yes, see, but we're hot on the air, but not on the TV. So I want to thank all the people on the social media that are watching and listening and especially for all the calls that you have brought into us in the last few weeks. We really appreciate it, but our main job here is to educate you people and take the action that you feel is necessary for you, but peacefully and within the legal bounds of the law. Don't be like the government people. Don't violate the law. Steve?
Yeah, I find it interesting how little people know about their rights. But, this may be a good wake-up call because, even the ones that don't know what they are quite concerned about what's happening, including the Democrats who voted some of these people in.
That's true.
I mean, I've run into more and more people saying they would never vote for Newsom again, and maybe not any Democrats, but we'll see. I mean, California has a bad habit of always electing Democrats, and the states that I've seen that are worst, of course, is the states that have Democratic governors.
Oh, like that Michigan thing. That woman is absolutely out to lunch with what she's doing.
She had handcuffs on her already. So.
Yeah.
She thinks she's really all that.
The oath that she took limits what she can do. And I can tell that she's not aware of that. And because of the government's takeover of the education system, where they don't teach these things anymore at the grade school or high school level, it's no wonder. Look at all the millions of people that we've had run through the system now. The 30 seconds go, so I'm going to sign off here myself until the music starts, and then I will be back. Welcome back to Personalities in the News. I am Truman Sigler, and I'm going to introduce Steve and Sue Ann here after I read a couple of things just to refresh your memory on some of the topics we've covered. Here's one I got in just yesterday, and it's from John Rappaport with his No More Fake News, which I suggest you go into because he has all of these things itemized and other things written down that will really help educate you on the system and what's going on with this epidemic, so-called epidemic going on. And this one is a notice to readers. You're an email subscriber. You can find him there. So look him up. See what he has. I use a lot of his stuff on this program. I got one here that is not from his program. It's called The Market Understands That the Health Experts Don't. And it's too much to read here on the air, but I got it from a Alexander Green at libertythroughwealth.com. So you can put that on your computer, punch it in, and what he tells you is exactly the truth about what's going on with all these the epidemics and your liberty. Another one that's very, very interesting. The British corona middleman, seen and yet not observed. He's Neil Ferguson, the ghost of the machine. Why do governments salute when he predicts a pandemic and tells them to lock down their countries? Does anyone care about his past? Why does he still have a prestigious job? Who is he connected to? This blew my mind when I read it. It's very, very interesting and tells you a lot what's going on worldwide. New World Order? Possibly. This one is from my fellow American poll. It's called an NRA gun ownership survey. The indicators in this packet give us a hint of what our new norm will look like. They've been advertising a new norm. Now, is that not a change in our system? Where do they get the authority to do that? NRA goes into that. Very, very interesting article. Here's one that's good. Current. A judge grants restraining order against extended lockdown in Illinois. Now, you've probably seen some of that referred to in the major media. But the court order, because of the way he went around about it, applies only to him. But he did get his order granted. The governor of Michigan or Illinois was not too happy about that. And I can understand why. So that's the same thing that we're trying to promote here on the issue of the constructive notice. When you do this, it affects you. When you win, that keeps the government off of you. Doesn't affect anybody else. So when you learn of this, pass it around. We need a lot of people to do this. Steve?
No, there's no question about it. The people are concerned. They're scared. They're out in numbers. They're protesting here in California. There was some, they had a kind of a national protest yesterday in many states. Sacramento here in California had quite a few people show up, and the CHP, I understand, even made a few arrests, 2 or 3. I mean, this is serious stuff because we have a right to protest, and they weren't. There was one court in California already ruled that, well, there's because of the declared emergency, the Constitution doesn't count. That is not correct, and from any standpoint. We have Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision that says your rights cannot be denied you for any reason, even in wartime. The Constitution does not allow them to take away your constitutional rights. But California lower court decided, oh yeah, if the governor wants them, well, if the governor can take your rights away anytime he wants, you don't have any rights. So we need to start standing up, and people are going to have the courage to put their name on a document, one way or the other. One thing that you can do, and you're going to need this anyway for the constructive notice for those that decide to do it, is you need the contact information for your elected officials. And you can get that at usa.gov/elected-officials. I don't like the word officials, but that's what the website is. I consider them elected servants is what they're supposed to be.
That's correct.
But if you go to the website, usa.gov/forward/elected-officials, you can look up from there any elected official in the United States or any state. You can click on your state governor, get his email, his phone number. I mean, you're not going to talk to him directly, but you can leave a message, but you can get your email and the mailing address and everything for these constructive notices. I don't know of any button here because when I fill out an email message, I want to send it to every one of these cotton picking guys in every state is what I want to do, and I haven't found that yet because they all need to be educated on what they took an oath for. And if I have a minute, I want to put it in here. This is the oath of office that every person, including the mayor, the police department, sheriff's department, this is what they say. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office, well, this was for the president, but something similar, of the president of the United States, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's pretty strong, but a lot of these people taking this oath, and some of you have been listening, maybe a policeman, because you're concerned about these things, but you took an oath and maybe you never read the Constitution. They don't teach it in law enforcement education that I know of. The schools, grade schools and stuff, do not teach it any longer. And I remember President Obama claimed to be an expert on the Constitution, that he taught it in the university. And then he quoted from the Gettysburg Address to show how much he knew about the Constitution. I mean, it's a real serious problem. This is the formula, if you will, that made America great. There's nothing like this in the world. In this country, you have all the power. And we need to start standing up and not being afraid of these elected officials. Newsom is committing a crime, in my opinion, and he should be held accountable to it. The mayor of Fresno, I mean, he says, I can't really back off because the governor's going to do it anyway. Well, I would still be more respectful if he backed off and let the governor put his thumb or foot on everybody's neck, because the governor, the mayor is being ridiculous here. We could open all the numbers. Even if this was a pandemic, they can't take our rights away. But even from what they said it was, it's nowhere near that. It doesn't even look to be as deadly as a regular flu. They could open it up like a switch, and they just won't do it.
No. Even one thing here about the so-called officials that are parroting the governor's wishes, because they're not official wishes. He doesn't have that power. Doesn't that make them one of the two that are conspiring to?
Oh yeah.
Directly affect your rights? So,
The mayor has no authority to direct you
Right.
and order you to do anything.
right. Steve, we got a call coming in. I'm going to push the button and welcome them to Personalities in the News. Welcome to Personalities in the News. You are on the air.
How you doing tonight?
Now, who am I speaking to?
Steve from Illinois.
Oh, Steve, welcome. And we look forward to your comments every week. I'm going to let you address what you want to talk about to the other Steve Hempling.
Yep, yeah. I get an opinion from you guys here. Now, I've been studying our state constitution. I'm talking about Illinois. And in our state constitution, it does not give any power anywhere in the Constitution of executive orders other than in agency reorganization, where he gives executive orders to reassign functions among and the executive agencies and stuff. Now, what they did is they created what they call, it was 1975, they created the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act. And that's where they gave this governor, a power to make an executive order over the people. Now, I want to get your guys' opinion on this.
Well, I'd like to comment on this right off the bat. Executive orders do not apply to the people unless you are contracted into the government and therefore become part of it. They have no power over the free people unless you just go ahead and do it because he said this is an executive order.
Right.
Same with the president and everybody else. People take all this stuff out of context and feel just because it was said they have to comply. Well, I say no. Steve?
Yep.
No, Steve's right. I mean, executive orders only apply to the people that basically work for the guy. If you could say the same thing about the president of a corporation. President of Ford, he does executive orders, and it applies to people that work for Ford. It doesn't apply to you and me. So,
right.
Same with elected officials. The mayor, he can affect city business or city things like garbage collection and police and different things that are paid by the city, but he has no authority over those not paid by the city. And I even contest. I would like to see more clarification on these licenses that people put out. I mean, I think there's a serious issue there that maybe people will wake up to because, I want the courts to say at some point, because there's going to be a lot of lawsuits, that because you have a license of some sort, we own you. And I think that's part of what they think is going on. But, in my opinion, those rights that they're talking about are not waived by individuals when you're not apprised of them and understand what you're waiving. And that is, so you sign a contract and don't understand the terms of it, that's fraud.
Well, it's fraud based on lack of due notice, and that's what our constructive notice is all about. We are giving.
Okay, now on this Emergency Management Agency Act, they give the Department of Public Health superior power over everybody, superior law over everybody.
That's not defined. Everybody's not defined. That is everybody under their jurisdiction is what it really means.
Well, I totally agree. But how can, through an act, such as this Emergency Protection Act, go outside and allow people to interpret a law about something as a whole? I mean, a health department was supposed to be for, let's say, tornadoes, fires, food poisoning, kind of individual stuff. But in this case, you're looking at a whole state that they allow power and give them the power of any law to enforce.
Well, I got an answer for that. You are subject to what you make yourself subject to. If a guy comes walking down the street and he says he's got a uniform on and a badge and he tells you to step out in front of that car that's coming, if you do it, you're going to suffer the consequences. Tell him hell no.
Okay.
Excuse my French.
Right. Now, Illinois, you were talking about the lawsuit that went through that was Representative Bailey here. And that lawsuit would pertain to only him. Well, he claims Okay, this is his words. He claims that there was a filing problem. But here's what happened. Another representative here in Illinois, Representative Cabello, filed a lawsuit on behalf of all the citizens in Illinois.
Oh, well, that's a good thing to hear. Never heard of that one on
Yep.
on the media, of course.
Yep. I got that personally. I've talked to both of them here. So that's what they're doing is Mr. Bailey, Representative Bailey, pretty much took his out to allow this other one to move forward quicker.
Mm-hmm. Well, where did this attorney that filed this addendum to the other fellow's lawsuit, did he get personal authorization to represent everybody in the state, or did he just say that? Because somebody has to have the power to enforce that, and I don't think that attorney has that power.
That's in the suit, and it only applies to the house arrest part.
Okay.
It's not got to do with any rights violation or anything. It only has to do with the shut-in part of it.
Well, he doesn't have the governor does not have the power to do that either.
No. I'm talking about yeah. But I mean, the lawyer or the representative Cabello is the one who included all the residents of Illinois.
Okay. Well, I can understand it if he worded with resident, because most people claim to be a resident when they're really not. You can be a resident of several jurisdictions in many places. So on everything that you find and you sign, it says, "Are you a resident of?" And most people say, "Oh, of course, I'm a resident of the United States or the state of California." Well, not really.
Right.
Not really.
Right. Yep. Okay. Well, I wanted to throw that out there and see what kind of response I could get on this governor giving himself power outside of the Constitution, where the delegated power starts at.
Good. Well, you've done an excellent job here. I'm going to push the button and see if anybody else has got a call in for us. If not, we're going to mention here we got a break coming up again. Yeah. Okay. As soon as I push the button here, we'll be going to a break. That was a good one. Steve always comes up with a good one. That's because Steve's always come up with a good one.
That's right. Well, we're getting a lot of interesting comments, at least about the protest there in Sacramento. I mean, the one thing people have noticed, and this is just comments from the Californians that were up there. I mean, how they're concerned about the police. It was of course, that's CHP. CHP is kind of an unusual law enforcement, the so-called law enforcement division, because they were created by the executive department, not by the legislative department. And they were really only created to investigate highway accidents. But it's interesting now that they carry guns and they do all these other things. And I'm not, I think we can question a lot of authority that from the legislatures in California, because they just kind of gloss over things that they're supposed to do, like budgets and things. But the police, there are policemen and sheriffs that are standing up against us saying we're not enforcing this kind of stuff, but yet a lot of them are. And I think when we get into the lawsuits and stuff, they're going to be held accountable, I hope, at some point, because the people, we have to nip this in the bud. If no one sues, or I don't think it'll be no one, but I'm thinking a lot of these will be headed to the Supreme Court. But the thing is, to me, that we're going to have to stop and make sure that the people that are involved with this, illegal shutdown are taking, are taught a lesson somewhere along the line in the courts, because they will do this over and over again. If Newsom thinks he can do this, he would do it at will. Anytime he wants to create a crisis, or claim there's a crisis, or claim there could be a crisis, which is kind of where we are on this one. There was
exactly
no crisis. Right. It was just a model predicting one, which was wrong.
Governance by experts, that non-elected experts. That's where we are.
Yeah, that Fauci, he was involved with the AIDS. He's an old guy. He must be in his 90s. He was one that said, but he kind of almost predicted when the AIDS came out that every man, woman, and child be dead. I mean, the guy is. Why is he such an expert? He doesn't know what he's talking about ever. He's wrong on SARS, on H1N1, and on this one. He's just wrong.
Okay, stand by. Welcome back to Personalities in the News. I'm Truman Sigler with one of our hosts and some calling by the viewers. Very good comments coming in. And we're going to get back to this. We've got probably about 25 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less time to carry on with this. And do I have a caller on hold?
Yes.
Just a minute. I'm going to push the button and see what that person has to say. Good afternoon, Truman Sigler, Personalities in the News. You are on the air, and to whom am I speaking?
Sheriff Mack from Arizona.
Oh, Sheriff Mack, I'm going to turn you on to your cohort, Steve, here, because he was telling me that you were going to call in, and he'll give the viewers some background on you. And Steve Hempling, take it away.
Well, Sheriff Mack is known nationally. For those that don't know, he stood up against the Brady bill where that demanded sheriffs do all these things in background checks on a gun purchase in the county where Sheriff Mack was, and he and some other sheriffs said, well, we're not going to do that. And Sheriff Mack's basic idea is, I don't work for you, you don't pay me, and I'm not doing it. And it's really quite similar to them passing laws or orders directing people that they have no authority over, like you and me, to close our business, to not be around, to not go out of our house. And he won at the Supreme Court. I mean, his decision is still standing that defends states' rights and defends, that was a federal legislation, but still, the same thing applies on a city or the state. They just don't have the kind of authority that they think they have. And it's very dangerous for them exercising this authority because it could result in, a loss of freedom altogether. But Sheriff Mack, I am so glad you called in.
Well, thanks. It took me a while, but I'm so glad to be a part of this because we do need to make the people of California aware that there are two classes of sheriffs. There's the class of sheriffs who think that they're kind of like the Nuremberg officers and they just follow orders and do whatever the governor or mayors or county commissioners tell them to do. And there's the other group of sheriffs, and we're seeing some in California right now.
Like Margaret Mims here in Fresno. I know her personally.
Margaret Mims, I know her very well. She's a great sheriff. And you have sheriffs up and down the state of California who have refused to enforce the orders of Governor Newsom. And Governor Newsom needs to understand that he's not a dictator. We don't have dictators in America. And just because you are governor doesn't mean you can shut my business down, even if you have a good reason. We don't get to suspend the Constitution. We don't get to suspend individual liberty. We don't get to put people in house arrest, even if it's good for a good reason. And in my Supreme Court decision, Justice Scalia wrote this, and this is an amazing principle that he reinforced, and it was this. He said the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions, end quote. You need to understand, that's a United States Supreme Court ruling, that the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. And then he goes on, he even takes it further, and he said, the Constitution protects us from the crisis of the day. And that crisis of the day, if we let them destroy liberty and destroy the very fundamental principles that our country was founded upon, where would it stop? And that kind of totalitarian authority was never meant for anybody in America, even California. So I'm telling you, we've got to get this back and reopen America before it's too late. And to what really scares me is that they're going to do this again because Dr. Fauci has already been warning us it's going to get worse in the fall. So what are they going to do to us then? And how long will the shutdown be then? They have no authority to do this. They shouldn't be doing it. And there's dozens of doctors out there saying that the shutdown is counterproductive. And I could rattle off names: Dr. Stephen Smith, Dr. Buddar, Dr. Shiva, and many others. And these men are really brave, men and women, doctors, that are brave enough to say that this is wrong, it shouldn't be happening, and this is still supposed to be America. And for police officers and deputy sheriffs and sheriffs in this country to arrest people for going to church, arrest people for playing outside, for citing people in because they're at a church in Mississippi in the parking lot, staying in their cars. This is absolute insanity. It's tyranny, and the enforcement of stupid laws is the essence of tyranny. And folks, go to the beach. I really wish that Disneyland would reopen. I really wish that all the businesses in California would reopen. And for heaven's sakes, let's not destroy America over this coronavirus. Now, I'm going to be the first one. We should all be responsible, accountable, and be careful and not to spread this disease or any other disease. But the cure is 10 times worse than the disease. And there was another guy that I was on the radio show with just the other day, and he said, I've already done an analysis of this. If this continues, the suicide rate in America will far supersede the coronavirus death rate.
Yeah, it'll exceed it tremendously. I've seen the facts and the figures on this. One thing I want to let you know, I have probably met you personally in some of the meetings that we've had over the years, because I've been with Steve since 1985. And
I'm sure we have.
I've helped him out, and it's a pleasure to have you on the air and going with us on this. I want to say one thing about one take I have on this. If these people come after you and tell you to do something, do not pay or honor any fine or threats of threats from them. Force them to damage you by arrest, thereby violating their oath of office and committing treason. When they confront you, tell them to prove their jurisdiction over you personally, not generally. That's my take on it.
I agree with most of that. Yeah. In fact, if everybody were to take it to court, but even more than just contest it in court, sue them for a violation of your civil rights. And because there's no way that this can be upheld in court. There is no law allowing for Governor Newsom or anybody else in the state of California to be a dictator. And this whole thing, well, it's for your own good, or it's for the good of the community. That's exactly what our Constitution was written to prevent.
That's absolutely correct. And that's what we're promoting, the constructive notice, the legal constructive notice, is to put these people on notice and then go after them when they damage you. And it's not hard to do. I've done it myself, been in federal court. It's intimidating, but you get used to it. And you'd be surprised what you can do. And you do get some respect in there, especially when you go in pro se in federal court. They are not used to that. And I've been in chambers with several of the judges. And in that setting, they were pretty fair and pretty good. I even had one justice tell me what I did wrong in a motion I submitted. And what that person told me, that judge told me, made my case so I could carry it on. And I won by default because none of the actors answered the complaints.
That's the easiest time to go to court, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sheriff, you also run a Sheriff's Association of some sort. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how people can find you?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that people listening to this program will want their sheriffs to find out more about you, or they can get some information from you to give to your sheriffs. A lot of sheriffs aren't going to listen. They don't listen well necessarily to the people on the street, but they listen to other law enforcement people, and that's what I like about you. You're not afraid to stand. Well, you may be, concerned about it, but you've always stood up for what you believe is right.
Well, thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I served 8 years as a sheriff. I served 20 years in law enforcement, and on top of that, I took a case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court and won. And then that case gave birth to this constitutional sheriff's movement. And so I started an organization a little over 10 years ago called the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And everybody can be a part of that. In fact, it's more of a citizen organization than it is sheriff and law enforcement, because the sheriff works for you. You elect the sheriff, and he has no other supervisor except for the people in his county. That's an amazing statement in and of itself. But Sheriff Mims does not report to the Board of Supervisors there. She does not report to the county attorney. She reports only to the people in her county. And that's why we're a constitutional republic. And so we ask the question to every sheriff in America, but more we ask it to every citizen in America and every citizen in California. Will your sheriff keep his or her word when they took the oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution? There's never a time where I get to say, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to keep my oath now. I can do what the governor tells me, or I can do what the judge tells me. No. I don't work for the governor, and I don't work for the judge. I work for the people in my county. Sheriff Mims works for the people in Fresno. Period. End of story. Those are her only bosses. Collectively, the people are her only boss. And that's what's great about this constitutional republic that we live in, because the rule book is something I promised to follow, and she did. And so we ask everybody, go to our website, CSPOA, stands for Constitutional Sheriffs Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. All of you can become a member. All of you can buy this little book that I have that's a review of the case that has that quote in it I just said. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Well, it only does if we do something about it. The Constitution is a piece of paper. We need people like Sheriff Mims and other sheriffs in California and other people to stand up to the governor and say, no, you're not going to shut down our beaches. This is our state, and this is our county, and we're going to run the county. You're not going to be a dictator over our county. And yes, we want to work with everybody to get rid of this disease. Don't get me wrong. I'm concerned about that. But I'm scared to death of what's happening to our country. And once liberty is lost, as Jefferson said,
never comes back.
It's almost impossible to get it back.
That's
and
true.
So, folks, we've got to get going on this. We, the people, have got to wake up. We've got to take it back. And we've got to stand against Governor Newsom. And the sheriffs are the ones that can do it the best.
Well, they're the only constitutional officer in a county. I mean, the police do take an oath, but they're answer to the mayor. And the mayors around here in the Democratic state here are pretty weak on people's rights.
Yeah, right. Sheriff, we really appreciate your calling in, and we hope you do it often. We're on every Saturday from 5 to 6 o'clock. We're on a local television station, and we're also tied into the social media, and it's being a great help. And we're going to do our job right now. They're giving me the hand signal for a break, and then when we come back from the break, we will wind up our program for the evening. We'll have about almost 10 minutes left after that. Take it away, Mr. Engineer.
Well, that was a pretty good call.
That was an excellent
Still there,
call.
Mac?
No, he's gone.
Okay, well.
Let's say this. He probably hung up. He's not gone.
Well, the review, hearing from law enforcement, I think, is important, because a lot of people think that, anybody with a badge and stuff is their boss, or they own them. And we got to get over that. In this country, the people are the boss. The people are in charge if they start acting like it. This is unlike any other country. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't understand. We're becoming just like the rest of the world, which is socialist or communist. In China, the government there owns people. You have no rights in China. They can line you up and shoot you in the head. They can put you in prison. They can do whatever they want. They can take your house and bulldoze it and throw you out because you have no rights to property, no rights to anything, and your life is worth zero in communist countries. Here, you are the boss, and these are elected servants. I don't even like the elected official I told you earlier. They're not. And that gives them, looks like they have power. They're not a president. The president is an elected servant, and I think Trump is being misled by this guy Fauci, who should belong in jail. But I think he really does care about this country. But he also probably needs a little more direction toward the Constitution and our individual rights. Because even if this was Ebola, I wouldn't. They don't have the right to do this, even if we're all going to die.
Yeah, well, I would make a comment on that. When you look at his background and the people who he works with and who he supports and who support him with a lot of money. Bill Gates wants to vaccinate the whole world. This Fauci guy works for the World Health Organization, works with the CDC here in California. So I'm not much with him. I don't think he has his heart in the right place, period. When I first saw him on television, I figured to myself, this guy's a shill. Anyway, we got about 15 seconds left? How much time?
Oh, we got 40 seconds.
40 seconds. So, Steve, you want to take it run with it, or?
You're talking about Dr. Fauci, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely. I think he's insane. He just said the other day that we're never going to be pre-COVID-19 ever. We're not going to you shouldn't shake hands or do anything. If it was up to him. Apparently, some of this stuff is up to him, but Trump's got to take him off the podium and fire him at the very least. But I think, his statements of how many people are over 2 million people dying.
Okay, 20 seconds.
A lot of
stand
people
by.
into a panic. I mean, he damaged people. People got hurt by these.
20 seconds. Stand by.
Stand by.
Welcome back to Personalities in the News. I'm Truman Sigler with our host Steve, co-host Steve, and you just heard an excellent call in with Sheriff Mack. He's a very famous sheriff, and he laid it right out there, right where it ought to be. Call in your questions at 559-721-2822, and if I get a signal that you're on the air, I'll push the button and we'll talk to you. Steve, we got about 8 minutes, maybe a little less. You got some more things that you want to talk about?
Well, just I know that there are people in California besides the protests. There are businesses opening up, salons, barbers, these kind of things, restaurants. They just aren't going to have. They hung on as long as they could. They're just opening. Modoc County in California. It's kind of a rural county up north. But they have rescinded their lockdown orders, so to speak. I'm not sure exactly how they did that up there, as a lockdown anyway. But they said, this has gone on far enough, and the county board up there also said nobody's listening to us anyway. They were all going about their business. And the same with the beaches in California, Newport Beach, and was another city. They weren't packed, but there was people out on the beaches the last weekend because it was over almost 90 degrees out there. And Governor Newsom had a cow, but Newport Beach and another cities are filing suit against Newsom because they think they should have some control, and they lost their tax base as well, and these cities are going to be in bankruptcy. Same with the hospitals. A lot of hospitals they're hemorrhaging money like crazy because all the stuff that made money is in the order is they're not allowed to do any of these so-called elective surgeries and stuff.
It's coming back.
Which is idiotic.
It's going to be a hard road for these people to bring all of these things back, and it's a shame of what they have done and what the people have let them get away with.
Well, this constructive notice, we're going to work it a little bit. This was kind of generic. We're going to rework it and keep it generic, but I'm going to put it up on the website. We might put it up on the radio station website, although I'm not sure what that is at the moment because they're changing call signs and everything. But you can take this and yourself and do some of these things. And also remember it's usa.gov/elected officials. You can get the email, phone number, and address of every elected official, elected servant in the country, and your state governors, and all these state officials.
Right. Now, when we designed this constructive notice, was about 15, 18 years ago, if I remember, with you and some other people, Sue Ann, our legal researcher, and drew this up, I used it. I was the first one to use it. Modified it a little bit, served all the people that needed to be served, and it works. And you don't have to have an attorney. You just have to have a little bit of intestinal fortitude to get over the trappings of the place, because they're very intimidating. And once you get over that, you'd be surprised what you can do yourself.
It can be intimidating, but if you're a business opening up in contradiction to everything because you're desperate and you're going to be out of business, we want to encourage you to do something like this. Protect yourself. Put them on notice that you're not going to allow them to take your rights, and that'll help you if you're wrong. And also, if you get a ticket or arrest, I don't think they're going to arrest, but if some people may be getting a citation or fine, I would like to know more about it, and you can do it. You can do that at freeenterprisesociety.com and get my email, freeenterprisesociety.com, and from there, my email. Let me know if you had anything or got a ticket or something like that. I think we might be able to direct you to someone who can help fight those tickets, if you want to, because you should not roll over, because they just have no authority. This is absolutely insane. This is to me, it's like the governor making an order for, over people that live in Mexico or Canada. There is no connection between the free people here and him.
Right. Well, the connections that we have with this constructive notice, it's the same thing as traffic, which you've heard us talk about. And we have issues on that to get away with it. Don't sign anything, whether they're going to give you a ticket for jaywalking on the beach or whatever. Don't sign it. Because when you sign it, you put yourself under their jurisdiction. And that is a real problem. You might have to go to jail. I've been there. They've done that to me. And I came back and I go after them. Now they don't do it to me anymore. And I don't have all these permits and licenses and everything that they say I got to have. I'm a free, sovereign person. Not person, because that's puts you in a different place. I'm a free and sovereign individual. And I don't reside anywhere. I'm domiciled in the state of California. And these are the actions you have to take. When you tell them who you are, they don't understand, but they might learn something. Because especially when you go after them, and they have to defend themselves for their actions, not somebody else. See?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't want to be hostile or anything like that. If you encountered a police officer or a county worker or something, you want to try to educate them. You're not going to get necessarily justice out down the road, but you can talk to them. Just try to, maintain, be cordial, because the time to come or fight it would be in the court if they actually write you up.
All right. Time is wasting. I got a caller on the line. Hang on, please, Steve. Hello, you're on the line to Personalities in the News. I'm Truman. Do you wish to have a question for Steve or for me?
Hello?
Who's this?
It's Elaine from New Jersey.
From New Jersey.
Oh, Stacy.
Goodness,
Good.
thank you for the call.
I just have a question. I don't know, both of you. And I'll leave it at this. Everyone's talking about the COVID and the virus and everything else. No one's talking about Joe Biden.
I wouldn't
point.
say that. I wouldn't say that nobody's talking about him. If you watch what's going on, there's some things happening.
Okay, but no, the news isn't reporting on what is going on with that woman that came out against him.
Well, of course, because they're on the Democrat side. Look what they did to Kavanaugh. They raised holy you-know-what. And he didn't do half of what this other person did.
Oh, yeah. But how come no one's saying anything? They're all talking about this virus. Everyone stay inside, and...
Well, it's called...
It's kind of like that movie.
We wish for
like
some
the
more
movie
news
Wag
other
the
than
Dog.
that.
Yeah, it's called a distraction. And
Yes.
that's what they play on, and
And
we
it's
don't...
unfortunate for that woman because, you know what, she has a credible story.
Yes, she does.
But no one wants to talk about that.
Well,
And I'm not saying that because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, well, I've been following it, and we've had our hands full with what we've got going on with this pandemic, and I think pending what's going on the internet
The
now, and the rest of
scamdemic.
stuff, we can pandemic. You're right.
Scamdemic.
Yeah, you're even better yet. If
I
we
like
can,
that.
yeah, we can even we'll more than likely have a program on this when we can put it all together. But we're still watching the information that's coming out. And we appreciate your call. We appreciate your views.
Well, you know what? I do like watching Judicial Watch.
The name
They're
of
excellent.
the who?
The Judicial Watch.
Oh, Judicial Watch. Yes, yes,
Tom Fitton?
yes. They're
Mhm.
yep. They're right on. I follow those people.
Well,
and-
you know, it's sad that they have to do that when our own government doesn't do it.
That's correct. But this
Why
is,
does
this,
a separate entity have to
Yeah.
govern our own government?
it doesn't, and they don't have the authority. But the people
That's
think
terrible.
they have, and that's what we're exposing, and we're getting the word out to the people. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up for this evening. Well,
Okay, very cool.
Thanks,
if
Stacy.
you like our presentation and with our hosts and the people that call in and your comments, please call in at 559-721-82882 during the program. And this is our time for this evening. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you and talk to you next week. That keeps you busy.
Are we off air?
Yeah, I had to put my earphones back on. You still there, Steve?
Yeah. We off air?
Yeah, we're off.
Okay.
Off the
Well, that's a
air.
good
We're
program.
off the air, that is. Oh, that was one program. I enjoyed this myself this evening, and I'm looking forward to doing more of it. The action that we're getting is excellent, and maybe we can help people turn this around.
All right, I'm going to sign off.
Okay, I will let you do that, and I'll give you a call later on when I get home, and we'll discuss a few things. But thanks much for all the help. Now we get home in time to watch half of Judge Janine. She's always right on.